Hey everyone, today we are in Denver, Colorado, and this is the Fairmont Cemetery. And this cemetery is absolutely unbelievable. Every so often I find a cemetery that just takes me off guard. And I say it becomes my favorite or one of my favorites. This is certainly one of them. There is a lot of history in here. The cemetery is kind of like a who's who. There are lots of U.S. senators and governors of Colorado, all sorts of notable people. There are actors, and I think there's some actresses. If you look on Find a Grave, you'll see a long list of people throughout this cemetery that are very interesting, and I'm sure there are a lot more people that have done something interesting, but that just aren't known. If I lived in this area, I would spend a lot of time in this cemetery researching and trying to tell some of their stories. But come walk with me as I tell the story of one, and then we'll just kind of walk around the cemetery and I'll show some of the things that I feel are interesting to look at. So we are in section 12 and about in the middle of it in all directions. And something that'll help you is that sort of Celtic cross right there. And then just look for this one. This is Maddie Silks, or on the headstone as she's known, Martha A. Rhetty, died January 7th, 1929.
Maddie Silks, or Martha Rhetty, was a Western prostitute, leading madam, and brothel keeper. She was born in 1846 in Fayette County, Pennsylvania, and was raised in Indiana. She worked as a prostitute in Abilene, Texas, and Dodge City, Kansas, before becoming a madam of a brothel in Springfield, Illinois, at the age of 19. She became one of the best-known madams in the West, having brothels in Dodge City, Georgetown, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado. The demand for women in Denver was high due to Colorado gold rushes. Silks has been described as a very good-looking woman with spirit and a competitive nature. She purchased her first brothel for $13,000 on Holiday Street, which is now Market Street. At one point, she and another madam, Kate Fulton, had the first recorded duel in Denver between two women. Not only that, they did it topless. In addition to running competing brothels, both were involved romantically with the same man, Cortege D. Thompson, who went by Court. Both women missed their intended targets, but Silks' bullet did strike a bystander, none other than Court Thompson, who was injured slightly in the neck. Now, this story sounds amazing, but it is simply not true. It was born out of the creation from a so-called reporter, Forbes Parkhill, in 1951. He severely embellished the event, which is where the legend was born and even grew. However, there was an actual confrontation between Silks and Fulton. This one is factual, and it happened on August 24, 1877. It was reported in the Denver Times and the Rocky Mountain News. More recently, a court document surfaced in 2006 providing additional evidence of the same exact story. It was a Friday night and both women were drinking at the Denver Park Bar. The two women began arguing loudly and Court Thompson stepped up and said he would fight Silks' battles and punch Fulton in the face. Another man, Sam Thatcher, attempted to restore peace and was also punched in the face by Court. A number of Court's friends descended upon Thatcher and Fulton got in between them. At this time, she received a kick to the face which shattered her nose. Court then drew a gun before being knocked to the ground and disarmed. It really was nothing more than a drunken brawl. After the parties separated, Court was returning to Denver by way of wagon and somebody ran up to the carriage and fired a shot which grazed the back of his neck. Fulton would leave on the morning train for Kansas City, unsure of the Denver Police Department's capability or desire to arrest her. From 1877 to 1897, Silks' brothel was the most successful in Denver, and she became known as the Queen of Denver's Red Light District. In 1898, Madam Jenny Rogers opened the House of Mirrors in Denver and quickly became more successful than any of her competition. Jenny Rogers died in 1909, after which Silks purchased the House of Mirrors for $14,000. She continued to work as a madam, traveled, and invested in real estate, making her a very wealthy woman. Maddie died in 1929 from complications due to a fall. Very few people attended her funeral. At the time of her death, she left behind $4,000 in real estate and $2,500 in jewels. Most of her fortune had dwindled away, and it's been estimated that she had over $2 million go through her hands during her career. Maddie was married twice. Her first husband was Court Thompson, who was involved in the brawl. They married in 1884 following his wife's death. He was a local businessman and had a ranch, but many people have described him as being a bum. He spent quite a bit of Maddie's money, and it was freely done. It is thought that he blew through some $50,000 or so. But Maddie was madly in love with him, and she did not care about that. Thompson had a daughter with his first wife, and when the daughter died, she left behind an orphan girl. Thompson refused to accept the responsibility of his granddaughter. However, Maddie adopted this little girl. Thompson died in 1900 at the age of 50, which was at the height of Maddie's wealth. He is buried beside Maddie in an unmarked grave, which seems sort of odd since she was madly in love with him. Maddie later remarried in 1923 to John Dillon Rhetty, or Handsome Jack as he was referred to. Jack had been hired as her bouncer and financial advisor. He remained true to her until her death in 1929 at the age of 83. Maddie's estate was divided between her adopted daughter and her husband Jack. Jack died in 1931 at the age of 68, and he is buried in an unmarked grave in the same exact cemetery. However, he is in Block 53, which is a completely different section than Maddie.
So that is section 12, where we visited Maddie. And right across from it, you'll see this big, tall flagpole. Love that flagpole. And then there's some veterans' graves here. And they are from Colorado mainly. But I see some others. I think I see Ohio and Minnesota, Nebraska. But what's interesting is they surround this monument right here. And this monument is marking the 1898 and 1899 Colorado Volunteers. It's very eye-catching in this cemetery. And I love to see stuff like this. And they're just kind of protecting, almost like they're guarding that monument right there. Big old nice pine tree right there. And then in addition to that, there's another military section right over here. And it has a large flagpole as well. And also a cannon on the corner. And this section over here, it goes a ways back. And there's also another little monument right over there. Take a look at this canyon. So the section that we were just in, we'll see it is section 39. And this is section 40. Look at that cannon though. It's pretty neat to see in here. United States Field Artillery Cannon Model 1885. And looks like it says 3.2 inch breech block, I guess, is what it says. Wooden wagon wheel, kind of splitting there just from the weather. But there are a lot of veterans' graves in here. Goes in a circle around this flagpole, and then it reaches back a ways. So it's pretty neat. And that monument right there is neat as well. Won't spend a whole lot of time on it because there's something else over here that I wanted to show you. And then this is a World War II area, I guess, because I see World War II at least right here. I guess this is put up by the post, the Francis Brown Lowry post, number 501, and it has some names on that, surrounded by Lowry there. And there's some veteran markers here, another flag, and we can see quite a few veterans here in front of this. And here is this is interesting, really interesting. Had no idea what to expect in here. Lieutenant Francis Brown Lowry, and December 1st, 1894, and it looks like he died in France, September 26, 1918. So I suppose this is probably a cenotaph in here, because that up there says Francis Brown Lowry, post number 501, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. There's a couple benches on the side and some flower pots with some real flowers in it. And then I guess that statue there is a depiction of him. Very interesting to see this in here, though. A lot of veterans. Lot. So right beside Francis is this one right here. It's kind of unexpected. Harold I. Johnston. Medal of Honor, Company A, 356 Infantry, 89th Division, World War I, March 3rd, 1892 to August 23rd, 1949. And you can see there's a flag in front of this one and a few rocks that have been placed up on top. And in the middle, that's a symbol for the Medal of Honor there. It's what the actual medallion looks like on it. Quite a section here, a lot to look at through here. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to drive around a little and show you some of the mausoleums in this cemetery, because they really are unbelievable. Some of the graves have some interesting statues on top, and I thought I would show you those as well. Now these are just a small number of the mausoleums here in the cemetery, and there's some to my right as well. But I wanted to just explain that if you look on Find a Grave, there are over 75 individuals that are listed as famous on Find a Grave. And in addition to that, you know, there's some people in here that are actually famous for something that they did or notable, but they are not listed as famous in Find a Grave. And the reason for that is maybe the family wants to control what is being put out on that person. And in other words, whenever it's famous and it's designated as famous, then that means that Find a Grave can put whatever they want to put on that person. And there are some people who think that it's not accurate what they put on there. And so I do know of some people that say, you know what, my family member's legacy is important to me, so I'm gonna make sure that I retain control and they won't be marked as famous in Find a Grave, but yet in real life they've done something notable and they really are famous. Now I don't know what that building is up there, but we're gonna go check it out. So there's a bunch of little mausoleums in this cemetery, but this is one gigantic mausoleum. As I was seeing it way off in the distance, I thought, did I happen to find my way over to the state capitol or something? I mean, I didn't know what that was, but man, that is a beautiful looking mausoleum on the outside. I can't imagine the inside. There is a famous actor that's in there I know of, and I did see that on Find a Grave. There's so many people to look through, and my time is very limited, but I can't help but love this cemetery, and it's absolutely a memorable one. But let's see if we can go inside there just for a peek. They may have it locked though. So I did check the doors and they have some hours posted, and they close at 4 o'clock Monday through Friday. And it's about 7 o'clock right now, but there really are some awesome looking stained glass windows, and check out these columns. I mean, this is a big mausoleum. I can't believe it. Really nice cemetery though. Look at this one right here. This is for the last name Myers. And it really is unbelievable as well. There's a couple torches on the side of this lady. I really like that. This little section right here has this monument, and it says, in memory of those buried on this site, influenza pandemic 1918 to 1919. And then this marker was placed there in 2018. A couple large ones here. That says Goldman, Wolf, Schlesinger, Friedman, and Davis. And then that upright large one over there says Weinberg. That one right there says Bernard Beer, 1908. You can see, in addition to the mausoleums in this area, there's some large markers of all types. Crosses, columns. Very fascinating to see. This right here is probably someone important too, and if I was guessing, I would say probably a governor or something, maybe U.S. Senator. Here are some more. And this says Pioneer, 1858 in memorandum, Joshua Monty, and then 1916. Really is neat looking. So there's a mausoleum right there. But in addition to that is this chapel. Isn't that unbelievable, especially with the sky back there? That is a little ivy chapel in the Fairmont Cemetery here. Oh, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I don't know that I've ever seen a chapel like that in a cemetery. I know they're probably in others maybe, but I've never seen one like that. It's unbelievable. Then you can see some other mausoleums over that way. Have a look at that one. William Barker, Pioneer, 1860. And then J.W. Iliff is that tall one right there with a statue on top. And this one sitting down, I'm not sure who that is. I don't see a name on it. Another mausoleum right here where the road splits. These are not plain mausoleums. I mean, there's a bunch of plain ones in here as well, but a lot of them are just huge. That one says Bethel on top and then Foster on the bottom. Looks like a mother and son right there. A lot of large markers. These are people that had a little bit of money, especially with these mausoleums. That says Eben Smith, or Eben Smith, I guess I should say. R. Soper. Love that statue on top of there. There's a couple others down here that are interesting. And like I said, there are mausoleums on both sides. If you look ahead, you can see them. In fact, there's one on my right that I didn't show, but look at this one right there, Markham. Isn't that unbelievable? It looks like one of the disciples, I guess, tending to maybe Jesus after he died, before he is buried and has risen. Just a guess, though. I'm not sure on that. It looks to be that there's a lot of Catholics in here, but I'm also seeing symbols for other religions as well. In fact, there's a large Jewish section in here, but I've seen some Methodist stuff, a little bit of everything. Like I said, that one is Kirkpatrick. He was a faithful man and feared God above many. That one kind of looks like a little bathtub there, almost maybe like a baptism or something, because there's a cross and a wreath on there. Ferdinand Morel. Look at the door on this Walson right there, 1902. Nice door. And like I said, there are a lot of mausoleums up ahead, and we're not going to show them all. But there's a lot of mausoleums throughout the cemetery in different places, and they're not all congregated together. Large cemetery with a lot to look at. And like I said, I could spend hours in cemeteries like this, just walking around, looking at the symbols, trying to read names, trying to see if I can figure out any stories. And I don't know, love the architecture and the designs of many of these monuments that are in here. And each one has a story, and it's fun to look around and see if you can figure out those stories and tell them. So anyone in the Denver area, if you're into graves, man, this is a big time cemetery that you should be researching and telling the stories in, because I would love to know more. If you do stuff like that, leave me a comment and let me know. I'd love to learn more about some of these monuments and markers and mausoleums. And like I said, there's some actors in here I know that I would love to know more about. So thanks for joining me on this little cemetery tour. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're ever in the area of Denver, Colorado, this is certainly a must stop and see. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.